back in the day, when you were meeting people, like say the 50s or 60s or 70s or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have social media. You didn't really even have computers. Who you met was like the girl you went to church with, the girl you met at a bar. And if you didn't get her name or number, like she was basically gone. But it's like nowadays, you just get her name and you could find out everything about her. And you can find all her friends. And you can find so many girls on social media.
And if you see picture of her that you don't like, you're not going to go for it.
No, yeah.
And that makes me so sad.
But it's like... What?
Okay, so for our first episode, I pointed at the camera and I did it again, but I felt stupid this time.
Hey, homebodies.
Welcome back to the Introvert City podcast, where we discuss culture, media, and faith from the perspective of an introvert's complex mind.
I'm sorry.
It would be so great if we could compose ourselves before each episode and have a really serious intro each time and get straight to the point.
It'd be so great if we weren't so crazy. Oh my
Sometimes
gosh, we're so weird.
crazy. I really can't believe it. How do normal people do this? Hi guys.
I'm sorry, that was satire, guys.
That was
just okay. Anyway.
How many people clicked off just
how
after
many people
that
stopped
intro?
listening?
Okay, guys, how are you? And by guys, I mean Seth.
And by Seth, she means me. I'm good. I'm actually really tired, but I'm really good.
Seth, look at me.
I know,
not
but I also
the
have
camera.
We're on video, so we have to look at
Yes,
our viewers
but
too at the
you
same
have
time.
to look at me.
But you didn't look at our viewers at all.
I look at our viewers when I'm talking, when I'm giving the intro.
Never.
Or when I'm asking them to subscribe, which you should definitely do. We're trying to grow our platform. But in conversation, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, but I look at the camera sometimes, though.
Yeah, but look at me sometimes, too.
Trust me, I have no problem looking at you.
Okay, so answer my question, though.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually fine. I had a pretty weird weekend just because I had a little scares at work, but I think things are okay. I was really in my head all weekend just about because I'm at a new place and I'm at a newer job and I really want to do well here and succeed. So
yeah,
but today was tough. I pushed myself pretty far today. And I was proud of myself, but it was rough.
Seth, what kind of work do you do?
You guys will never know, ever. Ever.
Are you keeping it a secret?
I mean, why should I tell them? It's a cool character trait. Now you guys have to guess what type of job I have.
Hint, it's blue collar. Can I say that?
I mean, I don't care.
Are you trying to be mysterious?
Is it blue collar? Or is it white collar?
Okay, well, Seth had a hard week, but I'm really proud of you for pushing through, and here we are. A new week, and you seem to be doing a lot better.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up because today we are going to be talking about being in your own head and some things that our generation does that really keeps us in that place of comparison and really beating ourselves up, and we'll get into all of that.
Well,
My
real
week
quick,
was
how
fine.
are you?
No, I was going to get into it. My week was fine. To be honest, my weeks are becoming so blurred together at this point. I'm just trying to finish the semester, and I feel like I was telling my friends, I feel like I commit myself to so many things, and then I don't have time to rest, and I just feel overwhelmed. But also, when I'm stressed and overwhelmed, I feel in control, because when I don't have anything to do, I feel like I'm out of control, and that is such a weird thing that I really can't explain, but I hope that somebody can relate to that. So, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, going back to what I was talking about before, it's not a mystery that there's something different with our generation. We're the internet babies. I guess we're not the internet babies. That would be Gen Alpha. But we started getting on the internet when we were very young.
Babies.
I guess so. How old were you
TikTok
when you
babies.
got your first phone?
Well, when I got my first phone, I think I was 12, 13.
Yeah, I think I got an iPod Touch when I was 10, which was huge. And then I also had a flip phone simultaneously. And then I got
flip phone.
Yeah, for school purposes. And then I got a real phone when I was like 12. So yeah, I guess you're a baby when you're 12.
Well, yeah. Plus, I grew up with a computer in the house, and like I think all of us, or most Gen Z grew up with like TVs and computers and like all that type of stuff, and family with phones in their house.
Right. So I guess we're here to talk about whether that is causation or correlation, speaking in terms of why are we so lonely? Why are we so isolated? Why are we so depressed and prone to comparison? Is it because we were internet babies? Is it just because of the way that things are evolving? So I'm really excited to have this conversation because we've touched on like social media and, kind of putting yourself in this bubble and getting caught in doom scrolling. Like we've touched on that in episodes.
We talked about anxiety.
Yeah, but we've never done an episode like really deep diving into the algorithm and maybe why these the addictions are becoming normalized. Like we really all are addicted to our phones. I admit that I really am addicted. Like I get anxious when I'm not scrolling, and I hate that. I hate that because why is that a normal thing, and why are we not talking about it? Or maybe we are talking about it too much. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of Gen Z people say that they're not going to raise their kids with technology, and I think that's a retaliation response, being like, we don't want our kids to go through what we went through.
Yeah. In my opinion, ultimately, I don't think social media is actually bad. I don't think social media
in
is
its intention, in its original intention.
Because social media, to the viewers and to you, I think social media overall is a great way to find new talent, new art, new people to connect with you, people who can connect with you from all over the world, keep in touch with people. And I think social media, had it not been for social media, there are some amazing artists in either the music world, the art world, the movie world, who just would not have gotten their start had it not been for social media. And so much art and so much lost talent would not have come to fruition had it not been for social media.
That's
so
a
I
good
think
point.
when people say that there's a problem with social media, I think, calm down. But I think there's a problem with us.
Yes.
I think there's a problem with our usage of social media.
Yeah. So I heard this quote that social media is way less social and it's much more media. Meaning that there's no connection anymore, especially with the release of TikTok and every social media platform kind of following in their footsteps and creating short form content. And now you don't go on Instagram to see what your family's up to, what your friends are posting. You go on there to get connected to the rest of the world and look at 10-second reels. And that was never Instagram's original intention. And unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to go back to its original intention at this point. So anyway, to kind of backtrack, the reason that I wanted to talk about this episode was because I was listening to a podcast. So Mark, I wrote his name down. Let me make sure I get it right. Mark Manson is an author and public figure, and he's in like the self-help category, and he did a video titled "Why Modern Society Makes Us Feel More Lonely." And I'm like, modern society is lonely. Let me click on it. And he talked about this phrase that was coined by journalist Derek Thompson, dopamine inequality. And basically this is referring to the levels of dopamine that come with social media versus the levels of satisfaction with real life relationships. So he made this correlation to talk about when you are sitting there scrolling on social media, you're just going past the second you get uninterested in something, you just move on to the next thing. So your brain is like constantly searching for that satisfaction. And it's why you never finish a video. Have you ever finished a 60-second video? I definitely haven't, at least in the past few weeks.
It's very rare that I sit through a whole...
Very rare. It has to be like very stimulating if I finish the video. Like it has to be bright colors with captions and like...
Or one of those intense like true crime.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's frustrating because I'm like, as we create short form content as like podcasters, it's like, oh, no one's watching our stuff. Or like the watch time is like 5 seconds. And I get so mad, but I can't be mad because I literally do the same thing. But anyway, you're doing that with social media and your brain is being instantly gratified every single time you swipe and every single time you move past something boring. and our tolerance for what is interesting is becoming lower and lower. Or would it be higher? I don't know.
Our tolerance.
More things are boring, is what I'm trying to say.
We have a short, I think, attention span.
Yeah. And so when you're in real life, when you're connecting to people in real life, you cannot just move past the boring parts. If you're meeting with an old friend who you haven't seen in several years and you're catching up on life and they're maybe telling a story that you're not 100% interested in, you can't just be like, see ya, or let me go to I guess you could say, let me go to the bathroom or something, but you can't just move past it. You have to sit there and endure it and try to connect with them in some way. And that part of us as a generation, it just feels completely gone.
Oh my gosh.
So
we talked about this actually a little bit last week about first time impressions.
Oh yeah, I remember
like
that.
First impressions. Mm-hmm. And like how it can actually be really beneficial to have a good second impression or third impression, because your first impressions, you cannot always bank on them being perfect. In fact, more often than not, your first impression, like your first time impression, is probably not going to be like good. It's probably going to be really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like as in for me and Carina, our first impression of each other was not good. Like, I'm not trying to mean, but like our first impression of each other when we first met each other was like, I thought that she was like stuck up.
It's okay, you
quiet.
can say it.
I've
already gotten mad at you.
But I thought she was stuck up, and that she like that she thought that she was better than everybody else, and because she didn't like to talk that much, she was really quiet. And I was obviously different at the time as well.
It's because I was an introvert.
Welcome to the show, guys. You guys hear that one? Introvert Studios.
No, but I totally agree. Actually, guys, if you haven't listened to our episode on just audio streaming platforms, I think it was our story or our testimony or something, but we talked about how we met each other, and part one. Yeah, there's a two-parter. I didn't like you either. Sorry. I thought you were mean. And also, one of our friends who worked with us at the job told me that you said that I was stuck up, which you actually did.
Why would someone say that to you? Why would they say that to you? That's
anyway,
so
it ended up working out, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, it did.
Because here we are 3 years later.
It did end up working out, guys.
Did you guys know that we've been together for 3.25 years, 3.5 years? I don't know. Yeah, almost actually 3.5 because it's April. That's crazy.
That is actually whack.
Yeah.
In a good way, though.
We've changed so much. Okay, soon we're going to do an episode on like all the ways that we've changed and evolved as people and as a couple. I think that would be really good. But that's
not this episode.
No, sorry. It's not.
So let's get back to the...
Okay.
But what I was saying
continue.
was that first time impressions were like... I'm sorry, that probably came off as mean.
No, it didn't. Keep going.
But like our first time impressions, everyone wants them to be so perfect nowadays. We have such high standards. Like to where it's like you have women who are like, I want my husband to be like this and this and that. And she's referring to probably like this perfect TikTok guy or YouTube guy. Same thing with these dudes who are like, I want my wife to be this girl and have this body and look like this. And it's like, if on the first impression I don't get anything good, I don't want anything more from it. Because you don't have time. You're like, I don't have time. You know, I don't have the time attention span to be like, you know.
Yeah.
Going on a date with you and getting to know you. I would much rather just hook up, you know, and have a one-night stand.
Right. And actually, in this video that I was watching with Mark Manson, honestly forget his name, but they were having a conversation and talking about dating apps now. And man, I'm so grateful that we already have each other and don't have to be on dating apps, because it's really, really hard. And everyone's on there for different reasons. And the co-host of Mark Manson was talking about how all of the girls that he dated in real life are girls that he probably would not have picked on dating apps, because I guess they weren't physically what he would have immediately went for. But after he got to know them, after he went out on dates with them, he like fell in love with them and their personalities. And also it's interesting, like, if someone has a weird physical feature, like they gave the example of someone having a weird dimple, you would notice that in a picture because you'd be staring at the picture. Yeah. Whereas in person, you notice it, but then it becomes like not so much a big deal because you're talking to them.
Yeah.
So just everything turning digital is messing with our relationships, and I think it's really sad. But I really wanted to talk about the statistics that they gave in this video because they shocked me. So I have a bullet pointed list of stats. Just bear with me as I read them. Over 50% of people say that they feel at least a little bit lonely in their lives. 27% of people say they feel very lonely in their lives. Last year, 1 in 3 Americans said that they felt socially isolated from others. This is the craziest one. Since the 90s, the number of people with 0 friends has tripled in the UK and quadrupled in the US.
My gosh, bro.
That is so sad.
That's a yikes.
Marriage rates have fallen 60% in the last 2 generations, which is a record low. 57% of single people have totally given up on dating.
Bro.
And all of this is happening when we are living in closer proximity to each other. We're supposed to be more connected than ever because social media is supposed to have us keeping in touch. We have everyone's phone numbers and like we have all the resources to be connected, and yet the stats speak for themselves.
You know, I have a theory about the last one. I think honestly that marriage rates have fallen and like single people give up on dating because back in the day, you know, when you were meeting people, like say the 50s or 60s or 70s or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have social media. You didn't really even have computers. You know, you barely, you didn't have really like, you know, portable phones all the time or anything like that. And the type of phones that you could use were like, you know, whatever, landlines or whatever, right? I don't know. I'm 21. But but the point is that in that time, you know, who you met was like the girl you went to church with, the girl you met at a bar, the girl like, you know, saw at a swimming pool, the girl you saw on the street. And if you didn't get her name or number, you know, like she was basically gone. But it's like nowadays, you know, you just get her name and you could find out everything about her, and you can find all her friends, and you can find so many girls on social media.
And if you see one picture of her that you don't like, you're not going to go for it.
No, yeah.
And that makes me so sad.
But it's like back then, like you didn't know what you were missing. So it's like you dating a girl, right, who you think is fairly pretty, but you like her personality and stuff. You were like, oh, this is pretty good. I'll try more with this date. But now you know what you're missing in the world. You know that you're missing out on like all these, you know, OF babes and like all of these, you know, Instagram models. Like, you know that. So it's like you would much rather try. People get FOMO. So, you know, fear of missing out. Yeah. So you want to try your best to like date as many people and you know, get as many people as possible in your circle of people you're dating. Even when it comes to like, you know, guys who are in the polyamory or blue pill.
Listen, that's a topic for another episode because I think we could say a lot of things about that. But
well, we did with Pastor Kendrick Bowen.
Oh, yes. What did we call it? Red pill influence and some other. There's a longer title than that, but that was a great episode.
It was a good episode.
So, yeah, this dopamine inequality is referring to the buckets upon buckets of dopamine that hit our brains when we get on social media and scroll and see what sparks our interest, versus it's unequal in person when, wouldn't it be unequal? I don't know. In person, it's different because you have to sit there and endure the boring moments. You have to sit sometimes in silence, you know. I noticed that a lot of things on social media are getting very loud and, like I said, stimulating with color and just lots of, like it has to be quick, it has to be loud and colorful so that you can save it and move on to the next thing. And it's so far from that in real life. So this is just really depressing to talk about out loud because I don't see it getting any better. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, I mean, so many people are in this as a career. You know, they make their money by posting every day. And I feel sort of conflicted about that because I don't ever want to judge an influencer for the money that they make and the career that they have built, because I do understand that it is hard work and it takes marketing and skill and business understandings to do all of that. But I also do feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to find the words to say this because sometimes I do feel like it is unfair to have an attractive person go viral in a day and make all of this money in a day when there are people who have been working for decades to try to feed their family or get to a place of success where they want to be. And I know like it's hard because every situation is different, but I do just feel like that's unfair. And then you get to make a living off of that. I mean, at least our generation for the next probably couple decades.
There's so many, especially on TikTok right now, people who blew up off dance videos or whatever, and now are like, they're like the Kardashian. Like it's like I won't say names, but these people, they're like the Kardashians now. it's crazy,
Yeah. I also just think this is really scary. We are trying to identify ourselves with like trends, and the trends are moving so quickly. Like I'm sure you haven't seen this because you're not on the girl side of social media, but there was this girl who made a video and she said, clean girl era is out. And now where mob wife era is in. And we all have to be mob wives. Throw away your puffer coats, stop slicking back your hair, and get some nice sunglasses, get a nice wool coat, like be a mob wife. And I'm like, I thought the clean girl era just started. I'm confused. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So it's like that just started and now it's over. Now we're starting a new era. And if you're not outside, if you're outside of that era, then you're like outdated or whatever. Totally disregarding the people who can't afford to get new clothes multiple times in a year because there's like 6 trends in a year, probably more. So it's frustrating. And like I said, I just don't see us going back. And I just wish I went on a walk with my friend this week and we talked about it and we both came to the agreement that we were just like, I wish this never existed. Social media. And I'm trying to find the right words. Like, I'm not saying that it hasn't been positive because it totally has. But we're at a place where we've normalized this addiction because I feel anxious when I don't have things to scroll through, when I've reached my Instagram limit for the day. And that's not good.
Mm-hmm. You almost feel like you're scrolling through YouTube or Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm just so bored with looking at this. But you're like, but I need to look at this because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing that people feel now,
Yeah. And so sort of to tie it back to what we value as the introvert city, it's like everyone has become a hermit. And now I feel like they're self-identifying as introverts and, everybody's antisocial. Everybody's an introvert. Nobody wants to talk to anybody, so we're all introverts. When in reality, that's not what an introvert actually is. An introvert is someone who recharges alone. Introverts love people. We just did an episode on why introverts love people so deeply.
Yes.
Because they care about, well, we don't have to get into all of that. We're not comparing introverts and extroverts, but the point is introverts love people. They don't hate people. We just need to be alone for the majority of our time in order to be with other people.
We need to be homebodies.
We're not hermits. We're not, I don't like the stereotype that we stay at home and we rot in bed and we're unproductive. I mean, obviously, as a society, that's what we're all struggling with. But now we're making this correlation with introversion when in reality, I think that it is a beautiful thing to be an introvert and it's a special thing.
Yeah.
And it has this negative connotation to it because of social media society. So, yeah, I was thinking about that recently.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the whole idea of that being an introvert does not mean that you're lonely. I have friends, you have friends.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys have friends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But there's a difference between liking your time alone and wanting to be alone versus you are alone or you're forced to be alone.
Yeah.
It's crazy how with social media we have so much less, so much more loneliness. When you would think like social media, it's all about being social, right?
It's less social, more media.
There's so many outlets that you find people, that you can find people who like the same things you like, who think the same way you think, who do the same things you do. Yet at the same time, you have no friends. You are lonely. I don't mean to say it like that,
funny.
But it's you should have so many opportunities to find lifelong friends on social media. People who can be close to you on social media, real friends on social media. But instead, I think the whole idea that there's so much less commitment with all of that and so much less so much less stability when it comes to having those online friends, because you can follow anybody that you want on social media.
Yeah.
And anyone can follow you. And you could literally have never talked to them. You can die and never talk to them ever. And never have spoken to them before they followed you at all. You know? But they'll like every post of yours.
Yeah.
You know? They'll comment on your posts. You know? They'll reply to your stories. But you literally have no idea who this person is. But it makes you feel good in the moment.
It does. Yeah. And it makes you insecure when people unfollow you, maybe because of distance or maybe because of something you post that they disagree with. Like, I remember recently I posted an article that I had written for a ministry, and I guess it was somewhat controversial, at least in title, and I posted it and I like explained myself in the story. I was like, this piece means a lot to me, you know? And that day, I think I lost like 4 or 5 followers as soon as I posted it on my story.
Really?
And I got so insecure. I immediately considered taking the story down. I was like, people hate me. But that just made me kind of reevaluate everything. I'm like, am I placing my entire value in the people who look at my stuff online? Yes. I need to stop doing that. And actually, let's talk about that. Like, what can we do to combat this? Because we recognize that this is a generational issue. It's not just us. It's not just something where we need to look inwardly, and like, we literally have to take extreme measures to break these addictions. And I mean, it starts with us. Like, what do we do to change those habits in us, and then maybe to have some sort of influence on the people around us?
I'll be real with you. I am not qualified to give an answer.
I mean,
I literally have no idea. One thing obviously we could say is that there's not too many people who know Jesus. That is something we could say, you know, and that, you know, knowing Jesus opens up so many more opportunities and doors, and opens up so much less isolation. And sometimes it opens up good isolation. But at the same time, I think we also need to be a bit more honest about how much we want out of a relationship. You know, kind of tying back to our friendship episode, we need to be honest about the type of friends we want and the type of people we want in our life, because most of the people on social media, the reason, or even the people you meet outside, you know, the reason you're probably not vibing with them or catching the vibe is probably because there's something perfect you want out of that scenario. And you unfortunately, that person just does not have, you know, an hour-long coffee date is not enough time to really get to know somebody.
Yeah. I totally agree. And it's so easy to just say, get off your phone, go hang out with people. Like, that's what our parents tell us. That's what all the generations above tell us. And it's like we're receiving it, and it goes in one ear and out the other, and we don't really take precaution. Something that has helped me, even though I obviously still really struggle with it, is going on Instagram with an intention, or like knowing exactly why I'm going on Instagram before opening the app. Like, if I'm laying on my bed at the end of the day and I don't have anything to do and my thumb just goes to Instagram because that's what I'm used to, I try to stop myself and be like, are you going just to go straight to the reels and scroll? Because if so,
Gosh, literally.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what's the word when it's like automatic? Airplane mode. Like, you just
and it's like,
do it.
You go on your phone and it's like this little line right here, the bar on the bottom.
Yeah.
Is if you have like an Apple, or I think it's on Samsung too, but
yeah,
like this bar is like your worst enemy.
Yep.
Like, whatever you put on there, you probably are going to click on.
I saw Instagram on there.
Instagram is right there.
But having an intention and being like, I am going on Instagram to watch some people's stories and then close the app. Or I am going on Instagram to make a post and then close the app.
Yeah.
I think that is something that has really helped me. Also, just recognizing idolatry in every area of life. Like, obviously, as Christians, we try to look out for idols in our life. But I think this also can apply to people of any worldview, a secular worldview, that, like, if there's anything in your life that is taking up all of your time and you feel like you can't do other things without doing this thing first, and this thing is having such a negative bleed into the rest of your life, you have to address it. You have to talk to somebody about it. And you have to set boundaries in place that will work for you. maybe setting a 30-minute limit is not what all of your friends do, but you can do it. Like, just because nobody else is doing it, everybody has different requirements for their own body and they know their body the best. Yeah. So I think just not being afraid to maybe take some more extreme steps than the other people in your life is important.
That's
and
good.
You guys can walk alongside us as we do this, because we are speaking to ourselves right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are. But now that we're speaking to you, you can find me at its_DANEYL.
Yes.
On Instagram.
Sorry, I interrupted.
You can find her
at Carina_B04. And please follow us on Instagram at _introvert_city, as well as Facebook and TikTok. Hopefully more social medias, as we're talking about the horrible effects of social medias. Maybe we just stick to one thing. Anyway.
We didn't even talk about the solar eclipse.
We didn't talk about the solar eclipse. I mean, it was kind of behind the clouds, so.
Oh, yeah. I got a good video.
That's great. I didn't, because it was behind the clouds. Anyway, thank you guys for sticking around. We'll be back per usual in 2 weeks. We love you guys.
Bye, homebodies.
Bye, homebodies.